Hi, Valverde. Hola. ¿Se oye?
Hola, Adrián. Sí, sí se oye.
Vale, perfecto. O sea, todo sigue en orden, ¿eh?
Vale, vale.
Muy bien.
Tú avísame y le doy a grabar cuando empecéis.
Vale, perfecto.
Gracias.
Muy bien. A ver, os he ido pasando una hoja. Es un cuestionario que tenéis que rellenar y antes de iros lo dejáis en la última silla antes de salir, ¿vale? There's a survey that I gave you. Please fulfill it and then you give it back to me before leaving. You can leave it on the chair that is next to the door. Vale, pues bueno, vamos a empezar. em, Vamos a empezar. En esta sesión haremos la conferencia y la presentación en inglés, ya que la mayoría de los asistentes, una gran parte de ellos, solo hablan en inglés y así podemos llegar a todo el mundo. Y además, como Fermín estará en otras sesiones, seguramente en otras escuelas, ya podéis seguirla en español en otros sitios, así que tendremos la posibilidad de escucharlo de otra forma y quizás con otras palabras, que puede ser como también más interesante, ¿no? O más o menos palabras, ya veremos. So we will do the presentation in English. Also the presentation part and also the conference today will be in that language. Um, Before presenting the conference of today, I will present the activities of Forocerámico Hispalit and everything that you can, where you can participate or things that you can apply to during this course. So first of all, we have the competition that I think that you are already participating in the third course. Um, so I will present it shortly. You have all the information in the website, but in general terms, it's a canoeing space in Zaragoza, and everyone in the university can participate, all the students. So there's a specific group in third course that will be like working on it during these days. But if there's anyone of another um, age or course, you can also participate on that competition. There's one first prize with a selection of a winner inside of the school. And then that winner goes to the general contest that will happen in Madrid. And from there, it will be selected one proposal with a national prize, and you have also the prices and incomes here written. For the inscription, this is important. It's for free, of course, and you can find the inscription form in the website. The idea is that it's maximum 3 people group, and the submission form, you have to check how to do it. I think that it's important to remark that the idea is that there's one person of the group that will be submitting or making the registration. And when you fulfill all the parts, at the end, it will appear a place to add new members. Okay, it's not an inscription that you all of you have to be doing. It's one member of each team. Okay, so check that. If you have any question, you can talk to me, and I will resend your email also to Hispalit Forocerámico if I cannot answer that the question. So here there's the presentation terms and limits for the presentation. In our case, it's in February, 14 February. So you will have time to present it in the class, and then you have some time to uh, redo things or improve some parts to improve it till February. I've been talking with your professors, and they told me that maybe they will find uh, one space to make a extra review before the presentation in February. for the ones that you want to present. Also, if you need some help, you can use me to help you on something. Okay. So the final, the limit it's in July. So all the universities in Spain needs to be presented before the 7th July. And here's the prices that that we have. The jury of the local prize, it's organized with 4 persons that we are already deciding. One is Enrique Sant from Foro Cerámico, and another one will be me as a coordinator of the competition. And there will be also 2 more people. There's also the national prize with that jury. Yeah, a very renewed jury with interesting people. There's also like another competition that it's the final project of the grade that you can present if you are using ceramic. So if you remind that competition at the end of your promenade in the school, you can apply for that if you are using ceramics on your final work. There's also the inscription, and there's also a prize in there. This year I will be in the jury. Yeah, also. So apart from that, every year, Foro Cerámico is doing some lectures that you can see, and you can look at them after they have been done in the website. And there's many architects and officers of architecture in Spain working with bricks and ceramics that will be explaining some projects. So in here we have the example of them. And there's also Fermín that is here today with us that I will present afterward. Okay. So apart from that, there's also the possibility, if you need it, to talk with your teachers and ask me for special presentations. So you can, if you need a specific presentation on facades or roofs or systems done or created by Hispalit, you can ask your teachers, and Hispalit will send someone to explain how it works and some examples of procedures and things about it. There's also the possibility of visiting the atelier or where they produce the elements, and like this you can see the sizes, the weight, and the construction system of the elements. And yeah, there's also a part that is the communication part, where there will be like the day with the final presentation with the winners. There's a book that you can find all the books from last year's in the library. So if you go to a library, you will see a little book with all the presentations done in the different universities during the last time. So like this, you can check what they present, who win, and what he has done. So it's an interesting way to start a project also. So that's all about the presentation. And now you will have a presentation of Fermín Vázquez. Yeah, I have some words here written. That it's Fermín is a well-known architect that he found b720 Arquitectos, Catalan, English, and Spanish, everything in one. That's perfect. So with a large experience, he has led a lot of projects in urban transformations and works that includes buildings like Akbar Tower or the Encants Market or Sagrera Station. And his approach on architecture is centered about improving this urban life and creating contemporary architecture and leading or being next to other architects also in very challenging projects around Spain and the world. So today, the idea is that we will see different projects that he will present, that they are working with brick and ceramic systems. And maybe the scale of them is not the same of your project of the canoeing center, but you have to be very aware on the details. I think that there are interesting solutions or details on canopies and different layers on how to use bricks that could be very interesting. So thank you, Fermín. I will prepare your presentation. I change the PDF and you can start.
Thank you. I don't, should I do this standing up as opposed to being up there? I'm not sure I want to sit. I mean, is it all right if I do? This is working?
Yes.
I prefer to stand, to be honest.
If here you have the different positions, this one for laser.
Okay. Oh, está bien. Perfecto, gracias. All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Adrián. Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thank you to the university for inviting me today. I would like some disclaimers first, perhaps, because this is not going to be a prepared lecture. I have to acknowledge this first of all. This is not going to be a lecture as such. I'm going to be probably improvising some reflections on covering a couple of projects in the studio, and I'm doing this in English, which is not my mother tongue, as you will obviously notice. So I hope you find it, understandable enough. And I would like this, because it's not exactly a lecture that I have prepared. I would like to have this as open a conversation as possible. So I'd be glad to have questions and debate or talk about, because I was coming here, I was thinking yesterday about talking today here about architecture with bricks or bricks in our projects or projects with bricks. And a friend and a colleague of us were working around Gijón, which is just, I would say, medium, pretty standard Spanish city that goes all, back centuries, millennia perhaps. And you look around, we're involved in an important urban project there, including a big station, a new station. And you look around the area and you see how terrible is our built environment, how much damage we've created. And I think of this, and I'm here in the School of Architecture, for students that want to, you are going to become architects, and the responsibility of us as a profession on what is being done to our cities. And particularly when you see the contrast in between what those cities used to be and what they are now, and the sheer quality, size, I would even dare to use a not so common word these days in our schools, which is composition, order. It's a disaster. We've been and wondering. I don't think we're ill-intentioned or anything like that. What has happened? And what can we do to try not to repeat the same mistakes and somehow take some ownership and responsibility of what was done wrongly, and analyzing what can be done and what should be our role as architects to try to prevent it from happening again and improving it. And the first thing probably is to look around and be critical enough and try to be and analyze it not in an emotional way, in a sort of rational, how this going to happen. I'm saying all this because my colleague and I were improvising a theory about that much of the much of the damage is probably due to mishandling of technology. So there are obviously huge, big reasons about the increase of the population in the last 100 years or 80 years is enormous. The amount of built area of buildings in general is gigantic. If you look at the last 60 years, what has been built is far more than was built before. I mean, probably tenfold or 20-fold what was built before that. And that's not easy to handle, obviously. I mean, and there's a lot of growth, a lot of need and housing required. But I don't think that's the only problem. The only has got to do with an unmanageable amount of new technology that we don't know how to use. And I said, we pretend we know. We are the experts. We are the ones that know how to build, they know how to design with it. And even we are encouraged to innovate. You have to innovate. You have to be the most innovative, the cleverest around, the most ingenious people who can deliver interesting, fascinating buildings on the one hand, and on the other hand, we just have to solve problems and deliver, products that needs to be sold in the market, and those two, opposite drives, that push us into directions are inherently dangerous and prone to deliver not so good built environment, and that's what has happened in our case. And I think I'm saying all this because when you think of bricks, I was thinking of bricks as a technology that has been with us forever, almost. I mean, it's been for really. I mean, I don't think there's not many other other techniques or materials that have been longer with us. So we have all the evidence. So we've got all the rules. We've got all the tries. All the experiments have been already done, and so we know how to use it. We should know how to use it, and it's a fantastic means to try to consider using before jumping into something more technologically advanced. And perhaps it's not about reflection. I would encourage you, and I'm happy to discuss this with later after I've spoken about the projects, about what we do, how we pick the techniques we use to build and the materials we use, and what is behind beyond those decisions, and how to inform them into the consequences of the space that we create around the spaces in which we live. And for that, I would insist that we have to reflect about the use of technology and how technology. And there are two persons that have influenced a lot my reflections on this lately. And I don't know, anybody here has heard of West, a guy called West that works at the Santa Fe Technology Institute, the Santa Fe Institute, called Scale. Everybody, Jeffrey West? No? I would encourage you to read that book. And I think because someone like I was thinking this. What was the name? Postman, Neil Postman. Has everybody heard of Neil Postman? That's an oldest guy. No, he's a sociologist, American sociologist that wrote a very well-known little essay called Technopoly. That well, I think both academics reflect on something to me very important. Is about the drive of technology. I mean, Postman, probably 30 years ago, discovered that we're not using technology to advance on our lives and to pursue better lives. We have been driven by technology, and sort of dragged by it in a course that we don't know. So basically, we make very good judgments about what is good about some new technology, but we never properly assess what are the consequences we don't want going to be like. And because of that wrong assessment, we've been driven into some kind of rush into more and more. And West, on the other hand, more recently, in a probably more scientific way, is proven that we are in a race with no end. I mean, and you can say he's a physicist. It's got no end. I mean, or at least or put it away, it's got a bad end because we keep improving, we keep bringing up solutions to problems we have created ourselves. And because we've got the ability to invent something new quick, we managed to cope with the consequences of those decisions, and we're keeping this run in this quicker, faster and faster and faster, and it's taking us to somewhere. I don't want to sound too pessimistic or anything. It is that we should, as architects, and I'm coming back to our discipline, to stop and reflect about what are we using, how we're using it. I think, thank God, we're now in a big universal debate about sustainability and resources, and I think it's going to help us to bring us back to reflect what are we doing, what are the consequences of what we're doing. So after this very, this bit of a I would say, grim introduction to my lecture, I will go back to 2 projects in which we use brick. I must say, and I have to acknowledge this, we don't use that much brick. We probably should more brick. And I think it's not a bad idea to use brick. There are so many good things about it. And among others, that is something we should have. We have no excuse. We can do fantastic things without running stupid risks. That's what and I include myself, we've done too often, trying to be clever and try to be innovative and trying to be interesting and try to discover things that, so that's, by using brick, you're somehow setting a reasonable, set of rules within you is less likely for you to fail somehow if you do your homework right and dedicate your efforts to doing something that serves better not just your client but society and your own ambitions as an architect, as a creator, if you want to put it in a more higher way. But so I'm bringing 2 projects we've done in bricks, and it is quite telling. And those 2 projects which we've been used to use bricks, both are for a client. And it's not irrelevant. There's a client that is meant to keep the building. Nowadays, it's not uncommon to find clients that are building to sell their buildings. So buildings are going to be sold to somebody else, to users, investors, other people. So certain commercial agreements are not uncommon. Probably 90% of what is being built is in the cities are commercial operations that people just build what they understand see as products and are sold. And we came to bricks to use the use of brick in these two projects, not by chance, because of the conscience that our clients were meant to keep the buildings for themselves. So they're people that were somehow committed to having the investment they were doing to last for themselves. We're not something that we're going to pass on to someone and somehow, have no more responsibility after a not so long period of time. So we ended up suggesting or arriving at the conclusion that brick was a good idea, because bricks are easy to maintain. I mean, as a material, they're easy to maintain. Although they've got quite a lot of energy embedded, they are really long lasting, which is the best way to be sustainable, but it's something that lasts a lot. and are reliable, and somehow they're safe in terms of its value as the fabric of a building. Let's go to the. All right. First one is some offices to be let. So it's a building that is meant to be let as offices. It's in Poblenou, in the 20th area, but sort of close to Poblenou, to Rambla Poblenou, which is a historic part of the city, in which there have been Cerdà's plans or clashes with this old village settlement. And our project, which let me see if I can find it now. There it is. Can I point with this? Project is there. I would say a very interesting location because it's a slice of a block, one of those. It's a slice that goes across it, linking one street with a one parallel, and it's got all kind of, I would say, sadly, two common situations with very high neighbors, somehow disconnected series of not very carefully 20th century dwelling, and all on what used to be an old factory. The factory, all this area, as you may know, it was had as an industrial, a very heavy industrial past. With a lot of industrial production in the 19th century. And this was a factory for linen fabric. Linen fabric, the one that was used to make sacks and things like that. So it was a big industrial box. And I was very well known. It was mainly employed women. So there's a lot of this tremendous history behind the dozens, hundreds of women that did a very hard work, not a very healthy one, by the way, in this big factory, which was huge, was all the block and plus. It was. That's our block. You see, and you see, there's a big hotel that's of gray, higher block, and then on the other side there's a little there's a bit of this very typical 20th century series of blocks, quite disconnected, one another, more or less different heights. I mean, all that you can easily tell when something, and it's part of our, I would say part of our responsibility, not just as architects but also as planners. And you can see here a little bit of what used to be the whole block. That is part of the old factory. We were to intervene in that plot there, and we had a very, this probably is not the right image, but we were forced to keep this bit here. This is the old factory. Those are the new buildings, and this sort of graphic little diagram, thinking of our intention here, because the owner wanted it to be, as always, a very singular, very attractive destination for fancy, yuppie workers and offices of innovative, flashy activities. And then we had to keep, I must say, none of our merit. This was, we were obliged to keep that, which was perfectly reasonable and nice, and to add something to it. And we tried to help keep to some. This is one of those things that you use when you design. You try to use some prompt, it could be anything, but you look for some kind of inspiration. So then we're thinking of trying to have some link to the site, and we're thinking of this so-called of the old the old factory, which of course was made out of brick. And the idea of what was being done there, this the other fabric of the textile, as trying to incorporate that in a meaningful way to our project. And that's how we try to organize the program. This, I must say, was part of a previous plan, which I think was pretty clever. And the idea was to have these two pieces on both streets. That we had an original facade, was the only thing that not only had to be kept, but I mean, sadly, was the only thing that was worth keeping. The rest have been destroyed, I mean, or manipulated in a beyond repair. And so we had this little bit of the old factory, and all that had to be redone. So we decided to link it with a sort of a lower connection building and deliver a passway, some kind of alley that could connect both streets and could be open. And we were designed as to be open to the to the public. So it would be a private area, but could be open to the public. And then we would add the extra volumes on top of the two ends of the system. That's the facade we had to keep. Was the only remain of our bit of factory that was there, and that's how we found it. That's how we left it. It's interesting because we're tempted for a while to try to remove the plaster or the sort of concrete rendering and expose the brick behind or under it, because it was actually a very nice one. But it was discussed with the city, and we decided it would be nice to keep it as it was meant to be. And then you see how the building grows on top of this old socle, and we went with that sort of lattice screen that it tries to make a hint at what used to happen here with the linen textile fabric, but also it's a very scientifically design protection with the sun. The depth of those fins are carefully checked with the computer to see what is in both directions, so that to minimize the amount of excess of radiation onto the building behind. That is the layout. It's interesting to note that we wanted to have two office spaces at both ends and have a series of smaller smaller units for sort of smaller tenants, trying to provide a very active commercial-like, if you want, atmosphere to the alley. Didn't happen. I mean, the project was attractive enough to have one tenant, which was a multinational French company, and it all became just one singular, corporate building, which for us was a bit sad. I mean, in a way, it was a sign of success in terms of it was attractive enough, but it was sad in a way that it was not how it was meant to work. And hopefully someday, perhaps it will happen as such. The site, by the way, had this funny, the shape is it's got this little bit there, which we created a garden on top. This is the alley. You'll see in a minute. And there's also another sort of corridor at the back, because this is a party wall, and we just set off the party wall a bit to create that connection. Those are the upper floors. I mean, it's probably not worth a pretty thing. You see those little units are two stories high, with a slight tilting roof on the top, and those are, I would say, sort of medium or standard office spaces, apart from the ones on the old facade. I had to deliver a mezzanine to deal with the different heights of the facade. But You see what I mean? That, by the way, so we failed. We wanted to have it as because the client was very sensitive to sustainability. We tried to have an old timber structure, and he didn't dare at the end. But we ended with, but the rest, all the facade is timber, and there's a high upstand to it. So it's a very, in a way, very low resources attitude in general. That's the section through the alley. You see the two bodies facing the streets, and the inner alley or mews, if you want, or what's it called, with. That's the section through the alley. That's the back corridor, the two-story units, and the alley with the old facade. That facade is a reinterpretation of the original one, which was not there anymore. And to me, it's interesting because we felt very obvious, to the use of brick as the way to refer to what was the atmosphere of all the area, of all the Pueblo Nuevo. No, it was very also the brick, this of factory-like texture, atmosphere, and even scale, if you want. So we wanted, and for us was pretty obvious that using brick as the natural material to create that strong reference to the identity of the site and its location, and also, as you see, the natural way here on this contemporary extension that helps to link with the rest of the fabric in a more or less. I mean, trying to add a proper connection and some harmony, if you want to, into it. That is a photograph from the roof of the central body on top of the workshops, and how we had to deal with the sort of connections of the next door remains of the fabric. That used to be like that, to be honest. So we just redid roughly the same geometry and similar materiality of what used to be, with slightly different. That is how was built the new facade. This new facade tries to be just a simple, quite restrained, if you want, a solid brick facade that helps to identify that as part of the whole unit and part of the neighborhood. And then the lattice work being protecting this is, I mean, all the finish of the outside is aluminum, but it's a timber wall curtain walling. Those are the details of the. You see. So that's the new facade. That is an echo of the old one on the other street. And that's this alley, this courtyard, if you want. Inside. We got not a very easy to manage neighbor. It was quite an imposing presence, but we tried to add this of a different scale to. And it was interesting, not just only to create a certain level of strong topography on the roof, which is an open garden to the users of all the building, but also to create this connection with a different scale, this having its own circle and its own addition on top, with a very much higher and much more light into the upper levels of this workshop units. That's what we found. That's some reference, and you see, I mean, the intensive use of brick as the most obvious selection. This is a sort of a simple reinterpretation of the facade that used to be there, and again a reflection of the facade of the other end, and creates this gateway into the alley, which is very useful for the parking the bicycles, and also trying to be somehow reasonably protective and inviting to get into the alley. I must, sadly enough, no, the owners are not being that generous. So this, I think, being a corporation is prevented it to be too open. It's not as open as we like. It's not uncommon to go there and find it with with the gate closed, and you have to go. But that's not what we envisage, and we really sincerely hope that will happen. Those are the works of those spaces. That's how it looked like at the end. And again, the presence of brick and timber as of old-time materials. That's the funniest. Sorry, but I was I'm not sure why it's there, but I think there's some anxiety in the office for a while, and that's how it looks like the entrance. So that's nice, because part of the program was in connection with this little back courtyard with this little garden, which is a calm garden. We try to design by the way, with the help of Laia Isern's knowledge, and which is the landscaper we typically involve in our projects, and to create that sort of calm Zen corner, if you want, and helps to connect with the main entrance of what was meant to be a common area for the whole complex. That's how it looks like today. So I think Laia was right. It will grow. We should have to trust her, and so it will. And that's how it looks like. All right. So that's, I think, I would say, a successful way of going back to the basic, strong, extraordinary capacity of the brick to link with without doubt, at least physically, in terms of the quality, the spatial quality of the streets, a better path, and try to recover part of that quality. All right, the second project I'm bringing with brick, that is a more common program. It's just it's a block of flats in Hospitalet. A private owner wants to do some investments. With the investment, they intended to rent them. So it's a long-term investment. They will own the building at least for the next 30 years or so, and they want to just use it there. This plot, sorry, I have no pointer. Is that plot there in Hospitalet? Very standard. So nothing to. There's so many, actually far too many examples of this type of building. Actually, all the area around it is crowded with the same program. So apartment blocks with roughly the same size, 80 meters, 60 meters, 90 meters, the largest, and it is quite, for us, was most of them to sell. And you can tell the difference. And actually, I mean, just by chance, that is a very common architectural response. So you see that, and you can see that recipe repeated and repeated by the same companies, the developers that deliver a very precise product They repeat the recipe, by the way, where they provide to the architects, and they have the same ingredients, the same, all the steps, contents of that recipe are perfectly thought, measured, valued, and they know what they're getting. And all these areas, so many other places, at least in Spain, are delivering that kind of response. This is not the worst, but it's typically you've got a sort of ventilated cladding, and thin ceramics or some kind of derivative of composite of some type, with plastic and aluminum, bands of balconies, and architects try to struggle and play with the idea of those handrails to be more or less so simple combinations of the same recipe that are forced into them by developers with a very with a feeling of I think with a need of very low risk in terms of the outcome. So the recipe is repeated and repeated with the feeling that departing from it will mean risk. And the fact that they're not going to own them, somebody else will own them. So in 10 years or 20 years, when those things start to peel off and get some problem, can move, and those aluminum, and profiles are going to be staying, that will be somebody else's problem, and the long-term issue will be. I think we had the benefit of having an owner that wanted to keep the building, and obviously they wanted low maintenance, simple problems. Basically facilitate the management of a property and of course maximizing the rent. And we ended up, after a lot of conversations with them, that brick would be a good idea. Brick as a long-standing, well-known, and if you want also quality material. So something that will last. And also, I'm trying to fence off risks, because in the same way the other developers felt this departing from the formula will entail risk. They will say, well, let's go for a low risk material, and that's why we use brick. And trying to go back to one of the things that and it's also sad to see when you go back to all very, very humble buildings. So you go to the remains of, in any city, I was in Europe certainly, any humble housing building, dwelling building in general, even at the humblest of the neighborhoods that is over 100 years old or more, you will see typically brick used with more or less art, if you want, or ability, skills, or happy result, but careful management of the, if you want, ornamental capacity of the brick, used as a small module that you can play with just by tilting it, pushing it, sticking it out a bit, creating shadow, creating shapes, trying to push, and by the way, trying to imitate formulas that have been successful in creating a nice atmosphere. And it depends on the taste, the ability, the ingenuity of the master builder, by the way, no architect, certainly, in most cases, just the master builder. And you can see there's a tremendous, interesting catalog of manipulations of this sort of humble, simple element, the brick, to deliver sometimes moving, fantastic results in really ordinary, humble buildings. And try to take advantage of that with the benefit of having a very well planned, a proper budget, and a very well organized methodology that we have today, some technology, of course. We try to go back to that, as it's been done many times. We're not the first one, certainly. It's nothing particularly maybe original, but we didn't try to be particularly clever or original. We just try to go back and try to get of this simple very good material. The most interesting result, not just for our client, but also for the area, because we were somehow sad to see the repetition of this, somehow the banality of the constructions around as a result of this product, the secure product delivery that is surrounding us. Of course, we tried to play a bit with what was allowed with the built area and how we could organize it in a way that was just the box, try to avoid the box-like, which is also part of the problem. We're going to have a problem of how to compose, to give some order and interest to the profiles of our core niches and limit some. We try to step down, by the way, towards the sun and the sunlight, the area we had to build, which was successful. We could subdivide it into articulate 4 different chunks of it, and create this. I'm going forward. I'm going backwards. Oops. Oh, well, sorry. Well, the layout is, I would say, is not particularly. I mean, apart from the fact that we were interested in insisting in having for bike spaces and parking spaces and comfortable areas to recharge vehicles, that we didn't want to have many. We convinced the client not to have as many as they wanted in first. The flats or the apartments are pretty, reasonable, simple enough program, nothing. Obviously, trying to minimize the impact of common areas and to maximize the rent space. Very generous terraces, that was part of it. Very generous terraces and a lot of vegetation or space that could be planted or covered of colonized with greenery. And but that's not particular. But see, that includes, by the way, the idea of having a very strong vegetation of the ground that could grow on the building, could grow up, and those spaces in the staircases will be colonized by greenery all the way up. That was the intention. Nothing particularly. We haven't invented anything really. We didn't want to, but I think it's. Yeah. I think it's one of our most common sins as a profession, trying to be very inventive, too inventive. But still. This building? All right, you just look at the lectures invitation, you'll find the name. Is there? Well, it's actually, it's a team of architects, by the way. It's not just one. Somebody who owned this is a girl named Isabel Uson, which is a great associate in the office, which had really, if anybody deserves the credit of having built this properly, is her. And that's the you see there are 2 elevations. One is the road elevation. I think here is the feeling of responsibility of creating some kind of urban quality, and the kind of the stepping down, the texturizing. And you see, there's a careful. I'm saying we didn't want to invent, but to be honest, we were not lazy in terms of proposing. It was a very simple and a straightforward elevation, but we were not lazy. I must say there were. I would not exaggerate if there were 2 dozens of possibilities tried, checked, sometimes even with 3D, either models or printing, and trying to check how it would look like we would create. So it's simple. We didn't have the money, to be honest, but we're not going to be doing too fancy or too complicated because the owner will not pay for it. But we're really interested in making the most out of this simple brick. So there were two types of bricks. It's a standard clear brick and how you call it, glazed brick. So it's got one of its faces is glazed, and that's it. It's the combination of that brick and creating different textures, the color of it, and the shades, and that was it. And try to deliver something that will transfer some sort of calm quality and long-term durability, or if you want the vocation of stay here proudly, as I'm even creating a good solid looking not building but street. And I must say, I suppose of most of the product that has been delivered around, because it's full of aluminum or plastic flashings that are picked and and screwed into something, and all those things with joints that tend to be coinciding. So that is exactly what we try to prove. That we don't need to go all the way into those supposedly lightweight, more efficient and quicker to build, and so that we thought, but this is maybe mostly very old technology, and we could deliver a contemporary, perfectly fit for the purpose. Of course, the flats are very much, I mean, the requirement, the need of 21st century tenants with this simple. We provided, also included those solid blinds, which were carefully, colored in the way that the brick is, and again, a very simple solution. The facade to the block court is far more open. It provides those terraces and shades, and are articulated along the stairwells that will be, by the way, colonized by greenery, where we start growing from there in the near future. I don't think I've got photographs of that already succeeding. I've been told that they're growing all right. Pretty simple. Of course, we would try to simple details as the fittings, which were very simple. I mean, low budget, but careful. And again, the play to create that lattice work out of a brick was the result of trials and checking, and and comparing and looking back to examples of old-fashioned ones, try to do something slightly different, adequate, but not trying to too clever or too fancy or too. We didn't want to stick out in the sense of something that we don't no wow effect or anything like that or anything. So we just wanted to make it look durable and of high quality. So that's. You see that now, just basically three different patterns. That's it, 3 different patterns. They're using different. Still, I must say, it was not. I mean, that required a lot of. I don't want to banalize it, because it was the result of a strong effort. So we really had to convince our client that was reasonable. That was relatively easy. Struggle with the builders, and the guys are trying to think and work out how to do this in an efficient way, trying to prove that was not that demanding. So the temptation of going a very standard, off the peg, industrial solution with, all those things had to be proved not to be any better than ours. Not to be, ours should not be more expensive. Ours should not be more difficult. And that meant a lot of going against the grain, going against the mainstream flow, trying to convince people of not falling for the obvious, most available, simple way. So I'm saying this because it's, again, our responsibility. For us was, we really had to, that was not the easiest way to do it. It's a simple building, enough building. It's nothing. I don't think it's an extraordinary building in a particular way. But it's a bit sad that it becomes a bit extraordinary, because what we are being surrounded by is this banality of indiscriminated reproduction of industrialized product that we all know it's not going to to look nice in the field. It will wear tear not very nicely in the next decades. And of course, got to be to details. Those panels got to be recessed in order to add all those little things that need a lot of attention, which is worthwhile. All right, I don't think we need to go into technical details of the product, but that's just an example of those. All right, I think we've seen that. All right, that's it. That's thank you for your attention. I'm very glad to any got time. I don't know how long was this.
Okay, thank you, Fermín, for your presentation. I think that you have enjoyed a very good presentation, also with a huge introduction that was very interesting, and there appear some ideas on new thinkings or ways to how that importance on how to look at the world and what is surrounding us as architects. So I thank you for your presentation. I don't know if anyone has some question. You want to ask something apart from the name of the architect?
The name of the architect we can deliver.
No questions? Yeah? Okay. Can you pass it for?
With technology advancing and stuff, how do you see brickwork going in the future?
Well, I think it's funny. When I was told we'll talk about ceramic, I must say I was thinking of other projects we're doing with ceramic. As we've got a pretty, a big project being finished now here in Barcelona, which is a huge facade with ceramic tiles. I was thinking more of ceramic tiles because there are more. Actually, we've done a very successful high scraper in Sao Paulo, which is done with ceramic tiles, all the facade, which is very. But the lecture was about brick, I think. So, which to me was more interesting because the technology, I think, is pretty advanced in more and more sophisticated tiles and ways of tiles and fixing them and even making flexible, in systems with ceramic tiles. But brick is, I think, it's going to be, it's a long-lasting. I think it'll be there forever as a concept. It's funny because even in this new advanced, automatized building with robots and. Well, one of the options of very easy is someone, a robot, laying bricks in a very simple way because the concept is so obvious. There's a module, there's a very standardized, simple way that can be, and by adding it, provides you endless combinations and tremendous tectonic capacity. So it's the only thing in terms of resources is that it's got to be linked to its lasting quality. Otherwise, it's a relatively high demanding material in terms of energy embedded in it and CO2. But if it lasts enough, I don't see, and if the energy comes from a green source, I think it's a very successful. It's going to last for long. And once again, I insist, I'm becoming more and more wary about our obsession with innovation. I don't think we need to worry that much about innovation anymore. I think it's more about revisiting what we do, how we do it. So we have a lot of homework to do before obsession in solving the new problem we've created also. So I would be very critical about what are our problems, what are the cause of our problems, as a society, and try to go backwards and look at what we need, because I'm not trying to solve it by jumping into something very clever that will minimize our problem. I'm talking about, and that comes in general. It's anything, and in construction particularly. And you see that, and also I would think of the motivation behind those innovations, because Sometimes you wanted to do it quicker, lighter, faster, more economical, which is fine. But I think what is the result? And I will focus very much on the lasting qualities of ordering. How much would that last? What's going to be its life? How it's going to end? How it's going to be recycled? All those things I think are part of which should help us to constrain our willingness to jump into acquiring a new technology or using it in a very and of course our obsession with doing something special. Right? So that's not it's fun to do. Let's do something good, not special. There's something really good. Struggle to try to do it better, not to surprise anyone, just to do it better. So I think that's to me is probably the main message.
Yeah, there's something important also about that. That is, it's a technified material that it's improving every year, but it has also something about this craftsman attitude, no? That it conserves that idea of this work that maybe, I don't know if you do it or not, but looking to that images, maybe in the office, they have been like playing with the bricks and looking for the models. And so there's like this handmade part attitude and the architectonic way of understanding the material too.
That's very interesting because there are two things here. One, perhaps the most interesting innovation around brick is got to do how to make the brick better in terms of perhaps we can make more bricks with less energy. Or we can do better, longer lasting type of bricks. And also we can go back and see what type of bricks, which are before the more industrialized product, how we could go back to, even to reuse existing brick, and how to recycle brick that is already there. So all those things are fascinating. Sorry, I wasn't.
Hi. I have two questions, one very short and one very, more open-ended. So the first, and they relate with one another. So the first one, you had a diagram, it was related with the first project that was, the same building 3 times. And the first one was the brick, the second one was the accessibility, and the third one was the sustainability. Was that for you, for your working, or was that something that you were creating for the client?
Well, as for both, but I must say we're lucky enough to get the client very involved in the. So it was obviously we tried to include him into our strategy. We of course, clients always involve you in their objectives. So their goals are yours in the sense that you have to deliver something that meets their requirements. But I think you have to involve them in yours because you make reflections that they may not have come across.
Yeah.
So yes, and sustainability is there. Everybody wants to be very sustainable because it's the right thing to do. But how to do that is part of.
Yeah, because that's kind of the sustainability part is exactly where I'm going with asking this first, because it just struck me because the project had many sustainable qualities, one of them being the brick and its longevity, then the shading system, which is a very passive strategy. Like it was a very well-rounded project in that sense of trying to get to a sustainable solution. And then the diagram, and I do not mean this in any way as a critique or anything, was a green roof, which is the most, let's tell a client it's a sustainable project, let's draw a green roof kind of a solution. It's the very commercialized way of representation of sustainability, when to me, the actually sustainable parts were not necessarily related with the greenery that was introduced.
No, well, the greenery had only, if you want, marginally, but I don't think irrelevant, relation with sustainability. Yes, it was sustainable in the sense that we provided a very, a strongly isolating roof compared to a conventional one. So in that sense, yes, that was helping absolutely. But the goal for that roof, the garden roof, was not to do with sustainability as such. Apart from, of course, the presence of greenery means sort of a better atmosphere or ambience and humidity and the capture of CO2, but that's marginal. The main reason for that was to create a green area available for the users of the offices that would not encroach into the wants to be public use. So it was the offer of public use. In this case, that was only for users up there. So that was basically part of a program. We work with this with the client. It would be nice to have somewhere you could go with a garden. So it's a very, I must say, it's a very successful garden. They go up there and have their lunches and have meetings and yeah, absolutely. No, it's a very, so it is no, but it is more sustainable than a conventional one in regard that yes, it provides a much better isolation and provides a green, humid space as opposed to gas. But that's the reason why.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fermín, for a very didactic lecture, especially the first part where you were very rightly critical about how perhaps things have been done in the past. Following with this didactic kind of logic, brick perhaps is not the most obvious material in terms of sustainability. You presented a very clear idea, which is if we are going to use it, let's make these buildings to last 200 years. They stay there, and then we don't need to do much about it. The other route, and I wonder how much that's embedded in, at least in Spanish or Catalan culture, more obvious in the Netherlands or in Belgium or even in the UK, that buildings that were also built with brick had soft joints that could allow for those bricks to be taken out and reused. And perhaps that's the other route that we should be more, I don't know, more mindful or more, we could use more nowadays, which is, okay, we're gonna, if there are a lot of buildings with brick, let's try not to lose 80% of them when we are dismantling and only being able to recycle 20 or something like that. So the systems and the materials that also go around how brick is built perhaps can also contribute to dismantling, reusing, or recycling and things like that.
Absolutely, I think you're right. And yes, I mean, long-lasting and recycling are the obvious reflection. I mean, they have to take that in mind to ensure that this is a reasonable, I mean, adequate way to do something that is not contributing to the planet's warming. But and yes, but the recycling, making something that can be reused and reassembled. But those things are, at the moment, at least in Spain, are a problem of cost, which is terrible because we should be able to afford this. And the problem is not, so I think it's the way things are, I don't know, taxed or forbidden, or so we should be forced into doing that. But yes, we could not have done that with prefab joints, something that could be assembled because of cost. We would not have made the budget. I mean, no way. Had this building been in Copenhagen, yes, we would, of course. Actually, it would be the only option almost. But yeah, so I guess we'll get that.
And I'd like to add a last question, maybe. I think students are now a little bit distracted. But you saw the competition they have to do this kayaking or canoeing club in Zaragoza using brick. So I think it would be interesting if you could give some advice on how to face competitions, how to maybe from your own experience, how you enter these challenges when you personally are at the office as a teamwork, because they have to do it in groups. They are not so used to do that as projects in groups. So some reflections.
My experience, if I'm trying to be pragmatic about trying to get advice from someone to address a competition, would be to explain really well the project, to explain it. I mean, you have to have, the right ideas if you want. So you've got to prove that you've analyzed the issue and you come up with a good idea. But that you should be sort of convinced of that. Otherwise, probably you should not be entering. This is something that you think is the right thing. It's a good thing to do. But typically, in my opinion, and sometimes not just as a competition participant, but also as a jury, occasionally is that things that are properly explained, very well explained, have a much higher chance of being identified as candidates for winning. And when you explain, as I explain it once, explain it twice, explain it 3 times, explain it in a clear way, and of course an attractive way. We're clear and attractive, but so it's not enough that an idea is worthwhile. It's also that it's properly explained. And in my opinion, that's where the good ideas sometimes tend to fail. Bad ideas tend to fail. So occasionally they get, by the way, they get away with a bad idea because they have an attractive approach that superficially so even sometimes explaining nicely can help you even to slip not a so good project into a chance. But explaining things well is, I think, to me, is essential to in this particular type of competitions, which are many entries. But and of course, I personally would apply all the things I've been talking about in general as a consideration of what needs to be done. Which in competitions, I think the temptation to do something really fancy tends to be higher. But anyway.
Thank you very much, Fermín. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bueno, Valverde y el foro, gracias por todo.
Gracias a vosotros. Hasta
Desconecta.
luego. Sí,
Ok.
gracias.